The transparent lightning bolt is not enough. Yeah, no, this looks terrible. The overheating looks terrible. The transparent lightning bolt, I don't like it. Are they changing it from overheating to overloading? Is that how they are changing the terminology? They're calling it overloading. You're putting more power into it. Is this for the actual game or a mobile one? This is for the main game. So this is proposed UI changes compared to what we have here in Eve. Are we talking about the new UI torrent? Let's talk about evolution, not revolution. Today, FC have dropped. This is their second dev blog talking about the new UI currently being thought about, feedback, things like that. We've already got quite a few people upset. Couple people mixed opinion, couple people excited. So let's read into this. So, hey everybody, in this second HUD blog, we go deeper into some areas of improvement we have identified with the current HUD, how we want to tackle them, and introduce some of the new functionality we want to add. One of the main goals is to make the HUD easier to read and interact with, while making sure that the changes also allow us to add new capabilities that are welcome for players who have spent the time to build muscle memory around the current HUD, but would want more capabilities. We are not in a rush to a full release. We will start with an opt-in period. Take time to gather your feedback and iterate on the opt-in phase before moving out to an opt-out phase, and eventually a fully transition to the new HUD. We take any change to the established core interface seriously and have done extensive research sessions with both new players and veterans. We brought in a group of new players to monitor how they interact with the game and identify their pain points. It's always eye-opening to watch a new player interact with our game, since we often forget the struggles they experience because we are so used to the UI as it is, also known as Stockholm Syndrome. We also spoke with veterans to understand their needs and had great sessions with the CSM to get their perspectives. Then at FanFest, we ran a workshop session with players in addition to getting feedback at our UI booth. So this is a little bit of what we have here. This is a big overview, not the highest quality thing, Let me see if I can center this a little bit. Yeah, that's good enough. So we've got, this is what we've kind of got here. We have the capacitor. We have the capacitor that we know and love. What I don't like now that I'm talking, if I'm shield tanking, I know I don't really care too much about my armor or my hull. Imagine me hull tanking and me just seeing just a little bit of shield, a little bit of armor, and then a lot of hull. You know, the longer I stare at it, as long as this is by amount, I'm okay. We can see we have the heat bars here. I think this is the capacitor indicator on how much you're regenning compared to draining. I love the new speed indicator on what speed you want. If you're wanting to adjusting it, you can just kind of move the dial up and down. I do like that. I do actually really like that. I don't know what this is, so hopefully that's explained a little further down in the article. Oh, that's security settings. Okay, so that's green safety. Okay. Actually, I like that. That's a lot more visible than the little dot. That's a lot more visible than the little dot that we currently have. So I do like that. And then we have the different map. The map is interesting. I'm not going to use this map or the solar system map. I'm going to use the new Metro map. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this third option here. If we switch over to Eve really quick, it shows you a zoomed in kind of thing here. So this is where you would be, and then it shows you like 3 jumps in all directions. So you go 1, 2, 3, and then you see this area. So that way, without having to constantly go, all right, what's the next jump? You have it right in here. We'll take a look at the Metro. That I love. So this is the current HUD. This is the current medallion. So that's what it's called. This is the utility buttons. There's a lot of utilities that I don't think a lot of people use. Let's continue on. So that's the current UI. This is the new speed control. I love this. So you have the increase, you have the stop, very intuitive increase, just go forward, stop. You can pick, you can slide, you can move things up and down. I love this. Just the refinement of going, all right, 75% movement speed, things like that. So I love this. This new speed indicator is going to be great. I really firmly believe there's things that I hate about the UI. This is not going to be a glazing session. There are things I do like. I do like this, adding more finite control to the speed controller, Moving this out of the medallion circle makes speed controls easier to understand for new players, while also providing greater fidelity for veterans to execute complex maneuvers that require manual speed control, such as kiting. Setting the speed for your ship should feel like a cool thing to do and tie into the fantasy of playing a science fiction game. Yeah, I could go with that. Armor and hull will remain together around the capacitor. We want to improve how this information is displayed and make it easier to understand the proportions of your ship's defenses at a glance. We are also exploring options to show more detailed information and adding ticks to make the circular display easier to read. They need to add ticks. So what they're talking about with ticks is these little lines here going around. I need them to retain ticks. If you've ever been in a situation where your Drake Navy issues shields are getting low and you start aligning out only to watch in dismay as your armor and hull evaporate in a few seconds, it's probably because you forgot how much of your precious HP was in those shields compared to the other two defense layers. With this change, you will now have a clearer picture of how much HP you have left and maybe align sooner and warp out in time. It needs to have ticks, so that way we can kind of at a glance see where we're at. In EVE Online, cap is life, so it's essential to be able to evaluate the status of your capacitor, especially during combat. So we have the new capacitor bar. This is what it looks like. And then this I like. So you're going to be able to at a glance see how much capacitor you are regenerating or getting drained. So you can see, are you getting nuded hell? Are you getting slightly nuded? Are you regaining some capacitor? Are you being cap boosted? I like this. Again, I promise this is not going to be a glazing session. There are things that I do not like in this from when I glanced at it earlier. Since the capacitor design feels like an iconic piece of identity, we wanted to keep its circular shape intact. This is going to be great. I really do love this. Rack heat. We noticed that players had a really hard time understanding the relationship between the different overload components because they spread across 3 different places in the HUD. So 3 different places in the HUD. So we have place number 1, place number 2, place number 3. I do agree that's a little, and it's kind of hard to read. I don't think they made it better, so to speak. So, because this is still very small, there's actually even less room to see, are you 25% or 50%? So I don't think they did very well with that. Because heat is directly tied to modules and racks, we want the elements to feel more closely connected. The rack heat indicators will also be oriented towards the rack they belong to. That I like. The orientation I like. So high slot, mid slot, low slot. I do like that. However, that is way too small to see. We'll go over overload interaction in more detail below. Utility buttons. We wanted to group utility buttons with the parts of the HUD they relate to instead of keeping them all in one place. Okay, so they're spreading them out. So we've got security status, and that's the only one that they talk about. Let's see here. Soon you'll be able to access your cargo, drone bay, and mining hole from the same button. Okay, isn't that just the normal cargo hold button? This is cool and all, but can I still gamble in game? Yes. So this is going to be the new security status button. I really like this. So instead of just being in that little tiny bubble right here, it is going to be much more easily indicated. I do like that. All right, so we have new module icons. So we have idle, hover, group. Okay, grouping. We have a group. Grouping is still here. Reloading. I do like, I don't know. I like the progress bar for reloading. That said, so there's a progress bar on the outside for cycling. Using that same progress bar for reloading, just in reverse, I don't know. I could see a refilling working, a refilling indicator. I think one goes up and down and one goes around the clock. Yeah. So this goes up and down as you expend ammo. This goes around the clock as you cycle. So this is cycling down. So this is like you are siege red. So rather than you seeing a background of green or red or something, if you are decycling and like you're siege red and you see this thing cycling down and you have 200 seconds left, you see it ticking down and the whole module's red rather than just trying to see if you see the red glow. I like that. Overloading, I do not like that. I do not like that. That if you are overloading, this whole progress bar needs to be red. The whole progress bar needs to be red to very clearly indicating that you are overheating. That's my thought. As it's going around the clock, instead of a white line, it needs to be a red line. I don't know how it is at the moment. Yeah, I don't like that personally. Yeah, the overheating needs to be relooked at. So active, inactive. Okay, we looked at that. So this is the overloading. Okay, so overload state. So you're getting a lightning bolt icon to indicate you are overheating. A lightning bolt icon. Okay, so when you're highlighting it, when hovering over a rack control, the HUD will also show which modules belong to that rack. I like that, but the transparent lightning bolt is not enough. Yeah, no, this looks terrible. The overheating looks terrible. Absolutely looks terrible. The transparent lightning bolt, I don't like it. Are they changing it from overheating to overloading? Is that how they are changing the terminology? They're calling it overloading. You're putting more power into it. Is this for the actual game or a mobile one? This is for the main game. So this is proposed UI changes compared to what we have here in Eve. Situational awareness. This is where I like only 1/3 of it. I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use this. I'm not going to use this. I am not going to use the on-grid view. This does nothing to me. Seeing where something is on a 2D when I really should be zooming out, kind of looking around, this 2D view is not going to help me. This is clutter. This is clutter. This, I'm just going to open up the little tiny map where you can kind of move around, you can see and descan things. I'm not going to use this. I am going to use this. I am absolutely going to use this where it shows like 5 jumps out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 jumps out. Just so I can start going, okay, this gate is gate camped. Is there any way around to avoid that rather than having to open up the map? This is what happens when they don't ask the actual players. The thing is, they said that they have. They've talked to people who have never touched Eve. They've talked to people who have touched Eve. They've talked to CSMs. They had a whole workshop at FanFest this year. Whether they listen is a different thing. The Metro map, I love the Metro map. I love that. So the colors indicate what you have selected on the main star map, such as pilots in space. Oh, so the filters that you have also carry down into this. So if you have over in Eve, if you have average pilots in space selected as your filter, that same filter is going to filter into the Metro map. I do like that. Let's look at this. So I'm hunting in null right now, and I have the filter active pilots in space in the last 30 minutes. I know there are a lot of people in this system here, so I can go doot, 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 rather than having to keep loading up the map. That I like. That I really, really like. Again, don't give a crap about on-grid view. I'm just going to zoom out. Don't give a crap about system view. I have different tools that are going to be more useful to me. Metro map is going to be fantastic. Metro map is going to be, yes, very nice for null roaming, very nice for DED hunting, very nice for different things, because there's different filters in here. So for example, if we want to look for activity and we want to look for dead space DED reports, agent sites, we do this one instead. This helps us with if we're kind of moving around a region. Let's say we're moving around Venal and we're going, okay, we're done with B2K. I've got another one over here in HTAC-B. Let me go over here. I love that. I really do. I don't know if you can set a destination through it, but it would be silly for them not to. Right click, set destination. That would be great. Old map was much better. Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I do enjoy with the new map, the dotland like approach, but there was a lot more filters available in the old map for sure. So yeah, going to use heavily, not going to use not going to use. This one, I'm going to zoom out. This one, I'm going to just, this is the tool I'm going to use. This is the tool I'm going to use. I'm going to go to the probe scanner, click this, set my D-scan range, go, okay, I'm going to scan this. Boom. I'm going to use that. I'm not going to use a little tiny thing. I'm not going to use a little tiny thing, or not even that, not even that. I'm just going to hold down V, click, boom. I'm not going to use the system map here. This isn't going to do anything for me. I do like the new ship status indicator and the module states. Yeah, we'll get further into those. We know how important UI customization is in Eve. The current HUD is relatively fixed. That is true. You can move the whole HUD between the bottom and the top, and modules can be rearranged, but the individual parts of the HUD cannot be positioned individually. We want to move toward treating the HUD as a set of components. That could mean moving modules into a vertical layout next to your overview, using a smaller version of the medallion, or hiding parts of the HUD that you don't need. Don't want the minimap? Hide it. Want a more compact HUD? That should be possible too. However, this level of customization will not be part of the first iteration. This is what I think they need to do with this customization portion. What they need to do is you need to be able to place this where you want, anywhere on screen. Anywhere on screen. If you're going to add customization, go full customization. Why can I move this here if I want, but not have the medallion here? If they're talking about customization, they need to let you fully customize the position. Same with targeting. If I go ahead and launch my drones, I can move this anywhere I want. I can have it align targets vertically, which it did mention that you can align the HUD vertically if you want. So why not? Why not? I'm gonna move this back here. So why not allow you to move this anywhere you want on the screen? So we're gonna get back to the article. Again, I promised it was not gonna be a glazing session. There's things that I love. There's things that I hate. In the interview, they said they are planning on letting you move it and all the separate elements where you want. I think that portion there, I think we're gonna forgive a lot more of the UI if we have full customization of where we can put stuff. I think that is gonna be great. Some I like, some I don't. Exactly. There's things that I like. There's things that I really don't like. Like I don't like the changes they're doing to overheating. There's things that if you start talking out loud, talking about it, there's things where you start to like it, or you really hone in, you really don't like it. The UI SketchUp completely loses the Eve vibe. At least it's still circular. The Eve Vanguard UI completely misses the message of Eve. This is at least still indicative of Eve. It has Eve DNA in it. Green real estate. We're very careful how much screen space the new HUD uses. The goal is not to make everything larger or add more UI for the sake of it. We want each part of the HUD to use as little space as it reasonably can while still being readable and useful. Some new elements such as the minimap and booster controls do take up additional space. That is one of the reasons customization and the ability to hide parts of the UI is important. There's booster. You can assign hotkeys to use different boosters, and you can see, oh, I haven't used my Fed Navy booster. This, I like this. Being able to program different consumables right here. I like that. And then see, okay, you've used this or you're out of this. I like that. Being able to move and scale things individually would work wonders. Yeah. Just having a better resolution on UI elements is 1000% win. Yes. First impressions matter. One piece of feedback that came up consistently in our new player interviews was that the HUD felt dated compared to the rest of Eve's UI. That is very fair. If we take a look at other parts of Eve's UI, if we take a look at the opportunities menu, we take a look at faction warfare. So theaters of war. If we take a look at this, we look at the faction warfare map. It does stand out compared to the new UI. Let's face it, all of Eve UI feels like Windows 98. Yep, pretty much. Vets won't like the change. New players, it'll help the game not look so dated and hopefully streamline some things. I like the minimap concept, could be useful depending on what they decide to do. I've been playing since 2007 and love this UI and love this current one, or the one that we currently have, Rainman. The movement controls, seeing proportional changes to my tank and what my relative HP actually is on the UI. Yeah, I'm a 20+ year player and I get off frequently, so the new update doesn't feel so drastic. Just relearning is a bitch. Yeah, I would agree with that. So feedback we are hearing from you already. Screen real estate and customization. We are aware that these topics are important for players and are actively taking those into consideration like mentioned above. Saving HUD loadouts, layouts. That's actually really nice. This is something they want to explore in the future, and in what capacity. This would be great, mirroring your HUD layouts. Opting out. Similar to when Photon UI was being developed, you'll be able to opt out while the HUD is in development. We expect the opt-out phase to be quite long. Once a high adoption rate is achieved, we will move to the final release phase. At this stage, we hope that we've built something together that we all agree works better. Future capabilities. We see ideas around future capabilities and monitoring that. For example, one request is to integrate the drone UI more deliberately into the HUD. We agree, and that's something we'd like to do later. There is a Discord thread. There is a forum thread to discuss this further. For the third and final blog in this series on the HUD, we look further ahead, exploring what comes after the feature work covered here. This includes areas of improving immersion with better space interactions and even more ways to customize your experience. Okay, so friends, I'm going to go ahead and link in the various chats the article here, the Devblog, as it is referred to. At the very bottom, there is a Discord thread and a forum thread where you can share your feedback as well. And friends, I want to make sure that I'm maximizing your time. Oh, I agree, Frosty. This could very much look entirely different from what we see here. This could look very much different from what we see here. YouTube thinks you'd like this video on screen now. Was it right? Give it a watch and find out. Be sure to like, subscribe, and use my creator codes in the description to show your support for the channel. Thank you to our amazing YouTube and Patreon members. Welcome to our newest members, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.